we're going to call an emergency meeting on September 23rd, 2019. The reason why we're doing it under the emergency clause is, to state for the record, is that we don't have a time frame to get a comment in before it has to be done today. Special session takes 24 hours notice. Emergency session you can notice in 15 minutes. So we gave all the notice amount of time we could, which was much more than 15 minutes. So that's the reason why we're into session. So the one and only item we have is a letter to the Department of Land Conservation Development, DLCD, from Lake County, from us, and that's giving an explanation of conditional use permit application 027 and 028, 19-027 and 19-208, which is going to be going through a hearing on Friday. Their intent to appeal our decision from a previous meeting. So what I went through legal counsel's fully abreast all this. He said we would need to run this meeting to do this, just to make sure it's all approved. What we have is a letter in front of us. There's been some changing, some wordsmithing done to it, and so for me it's relatively simple. It's an agreement by the Board of Commissioners to send us a letter as testimony to the Department of Land Conservation and Development Director's Office. So with that sort of a quick overview, I'm sure there might be a little bit of discussion or suggestions or anything. That's the way we have to work as a Board of Commissioners. So.
No, that's fine.
You guys are
you asking for comment?
If you'd like to add some to it, or
yeah,
or anything.
I mean, I'm still a little bit flabbergasted that you know, the ODF&W is looking for an agreement on what mitigation should be, and I still stand by my original feelings on the fact that I don't see what grounds they have to make this appeal. And so we made ourselves quite clear in our original meeting where we were headed and why we made the decision that we did. So I'm a little bit puzzled what are they exactly looking for in this letter? And was this originally drafted by us, or was this drafted by Obsidian?
This is in conjunction. Our legal counsels looked over it. Michelle Slater from Obsidian and Dave Brown. They called me last Friday, I believe it is, and that's whenever their sort of confusing emails came out, and it was clarified.
On Saturday.
Yeah, then it was clarified by Mr. Brown, and I'd recommended for them to get a hold of each one of you individually and Mr. Bailey, based on the fact I didn't know what we could talk about or what we couldn't. And so we're able to do that. I would like to make a comment on what you just said, James, and that is whenever we went through the appeal process and whenever we made our decision, we made it quite clear that on the fish and wildlife side that there would be appropriate mitigation done, appropriate work with that agency, and if they couldn't come to an agreement, it would come back to us. And so I agree with you. What's the problem? We're doing exactly, basically the right process for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. They should be in a comfort zone. And the same with the Department of State Land, or DLCD, also as far as I'm concerned. With the Department of State Lands, Department of Land Conservation and Development, I gotta get that right. They did not come to our meeting.
Correct.
They had the opportunity to phone in.
Correct.
They put a very small blurb in writing. And for them now to want to go through a hearing process to appeal our decision.
To approve.
Well,
after they were already co-appellants on the decision to deny.
Yes, and so it's very confusing that why today they're going through, or this week they're going to go through a whole hearing process when they never even came, never even phoned in or testified. as we put in a 9-hour day just in hearings, 8.5 hours, whatever, it was a long day.
Correct.
Moral of the story is a long
Correct.
day. So, I'm comfortable with the letter going forward myself. What I'd like to do is, if it's okay with you guys, if you guys agree, is approve the letter with, and there may be a little bit more added or whatever. I want it to be read one more time by our legal counsel, make sure everything is correct and make sure we have everything covered. If you guys are good with just the way the letter is, I can live with that too, but I would like to approve it contingent upon legal counsel's final review.
That's fine. What is, could you, someone refresh my memory on what condition 13 was?
Condition 13 was that, if off the top of my head, I don't have all that paperwork in front of me. Condition 13 was whenever they would work, they being the developer, work with the Fish and Wildlife.
Correct. Okay.
And if they couldn't come to an agreement, they'd come back to us. And then I think maybe what they're hung up with is our latitude of whether it comes to us to make a decision, or we could push that decision off to our planning director. Remember that discussion?
Yes.
And our intent is that it would come back to us with, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, with information coming from our planning director. I think that's the direction all three of us have went. But on condition 13, if I remember off the top of my head, that's what it's referring to. But I need to read our motions and all that stuff to tell you exactly.
I was going through them and trying to refresh my memory on the whole process. And one of the issues that I'm finding in this, the board will, in one place here it states, if you don't mind, if the board will indulge me,
Absolutely.
Read a small portion of this.
This is the way we get work done, is go through it.
We confirm to the LCDC that in the event the applicant and the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife are not able to reach an agreement on what mitigation shall be carried out with respect to the permitted projects, the board will determine appropriate mitigation, as is the responsibility under the DLCD solar siting rule, in the public meeting during which any interested party will have the opportunity to participate and offer testimony. So in that sentence right there, I mean, it also describes the fact that mitigation is to be settled and agreed upon by us. It's up to us whether to decide whether there is to be any mitigation. In the original meeting, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but the original meeting, we asked very simply, what are the grounds for this appeal from the ODF&W, and they made it very clear that they were looking at mitigation issues. But it's up to us to decide if there are any. And being that both those pieces of property never touched any winter range of any of the ODF&W, it was not in the ODF&W scope to demand any mitigation, I'm having a really hard time seeing any grounds for it, and being that the ODF&W left the meeting. I'm not trying to hack, to go back into this again, but again, I have to express my frustration on this, and I would have very much appreciated if the DLCD and the ODF&W had been present to answer some of these questions that our board had, rather than go through this appeal process after they already had appealed the decision of the Planning Commission to deny. Now they're appealing the decision to approve. And it is extremely frustrating to this board, from my perspective.
Copy. It does say there, when you read that, if they are not able to reach an agreement on what mitigation will be carried out.
But that's because we had the goodwill to say, we want you guys to work this out and what's agreeable to both of you, but really, by law, it comes down to us. We make the decision whether or not there will be mitigation, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on mitigation. There's been things through the process brought forward that is different than big game habitat, winter range. There's been, from pygmy rabbits to all kinds of other things been brought up. So I can't say if they're there or not, but that's been brought up. So that mitigation, let's say hypothetically there is a raptor's nest or there's pygmy rabbits there, then they'd mitigate out, not build in that area, or else they would do those type of things. So that's other type of mitigation I see that's appropriate for the developer and the Fish and Wildlife, because the developer has to build to that type of mitigation to protect that wildlife, and the biologist should be the expert, I said should be, the experts on the pygmy rabbits and all that. So I see that too, James, so it got more global than just the deer winter habitat, which I definitely have a problem with. They want to stretch their map on out into this. I'm with you 100%.
To me, it's totally government overreach on the behalf of Department of Fish and Wildlife.
In what way, you mean as far as asking to be involved in every planning decision that's made?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, in that one letter that they gave us at that meeting, they wanted us to sign that letter saying that we would meet with them on planning decisions. That was the start of the overreach, in my opinion. And this just all seems kind of fishy to me, that when we went and signed that letter, now they're appealing the process. And I'm just saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and
you are, and it's very, very appropriate. This letter will be part of the appeal process, the intent to appeal. They haven't appealed yet, but this hearing is if they will appeal. So this is pretty much justifying and showing our goodwill where that we stood. We done a very good job through the appeal process, and this is shoring up exactly what we've done. I think all three of us have quite a bit of anxiety on different things, but we need to look at this letter as this is shoring up the decision we made. We made good decision. We even had our legal counsel say we done really good work on this. We took our time. We discussed things. We gave out opportunity to every agency. And now we have agencies that did not even stay through the appeal process.
Didn't even show up.
And then one that didn't show up or call in. And as Commissioner Williams articulates, is they appealed the Planning Commission's decision. We overturned their decision, and now they're appealing our decision,
And see, that doesn't make any sense. They supported the decision for us, well, they appealed the decision against the planning commission for this project. And then when we do what they so-called wanted to happen, now they're appealing it again, the opposite way.
I think the truth of the matter is they appealed so they had a voice to be able to try to get in here. I don't know if the decision really was.
But that's not grounds for an appeal.
I know what you're saying.
That's a reason for appealing, but it's not grounds.
I can't speak for them.
I understand, and again, this is a public meeting, this is being recorded, and I would like to make it very clear from my perspective on this board that this kind of thing is extremely frustrating, that here we are, we had other things to do today. There was a lot on our plates.
And I guess I need to say thank you to the two of you to make sure you could make this a meeting. At least I was hopeful for one because I knew you both were tied up.
No, I drove all the way up from the north end. I was in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff with other ranchers up on the north end, trying to see to it that roads were being taken care of and there was proper service on the north end. And now I find myself driving 2.5 hours across.
You could have called in, but I know your passion would, you want to be here in person. I appreciate that. So,
I'm more than fine with this letter. I think the letter actually is articulated really well. It's not confrontational or in any way, but it states the fact that we did our due diligence. And so I'm more than fine with this letter from my perspective.
The one sentence I think captures a lot of it. Here at the end, I'll read it. It says, the board made a genuine attempt to satisfy our DLCD and comply with the DLCD solar siting rule in hearing the first DLCD appeal of these decisions. If our efforts fell short, it could be because there was no representative of DLCD present at the hearing of its appeal to the board to answer our questions or provide additional information regarding specific concerns.
Correct.
And that's being quite politically correct.
And it's very well written.
Yeah, I'd have had a little more teeth in it. That's why they don't let me write the letters.
So anyways, I will move to accept the letter as presented with final confirmation of review by legal counsel.
I will second that motion.
And with the spelling.
That's already been corrected.
Okay.
Typo's already been corrected. Yeah, yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. With that, we will adjourn at 2:15. Melanie?